Somebody was telling me to close your video, then the quality will improve. So I will check if I close my video, if quality can improve. So now I am going to the second aspect of this, that is called as a construction joint. Okay. So for doing the self-compacting concrete, the maintenance of the construction joint is very, very important, I tell you. So see, if you are not maintaining your construction joint, then what will happen? The concrete will flow, and as it is almost like a liquid, so the slurry is going to flow out of the construction joint, and when you will do the next concreting, it will create a loose pockets, and those loose pockets will come down any time after the construction. So the construction joint is very important. So what is construction joint? Construction joints are the stopping place of concrete work. If the construction activity is arranged in such a way that the work is stopped at extension of construction joint, need of construction joint will not arise. See, if you're having too much of shuttering, you have to have too much of the crew members, then you don't require any construction joint. You start concreting till you finish the part of the concrete. But that is not there. Your sizes are confined. They are needed because it is not feasible to place all the concrete for most job in 1 hour in 1 floor. Breaking the job into the smaller portions, allow the contractor to match floor size with concrete delivery capabilities, choose the best crew size, make best use of equipment, reduce form work cost by increasing the form you use. Now, who should specify the construction joint? Either architect or engineer, structural engineer should specify the construction joint. I tell you, there are so many structural consultants also are there in the group meeting. So sometimes I see that some of the structural consultants specify construction joint and what is the treatment required for the construction joint, and sometimes or many times I see they don't give any guidelines for that, what type of construction joint they should do. Sometimes we ask the contractor to submit the construction joint plan because the crew size, the labor, the manpower, the resources, everything, they know about that. So we ask to them what is the plan. In either case, the engineer or contractor should consider economy, appearance, strength, and durability when choosing joint locations. So now, what is the effect of construction joint? The effect of the construction joint is there both in the strength and durability. So strength means what? Construction joint introduces a weak vertical horizontal plane in an otherwise monolithic concrete member. This obvious slip plane may reduce the strength of beams, columns, and walls. This result shows that construction joint reduces a member's shear strength, but not the flexural or bending strength. So what is important to understand here? So strength-wise, the construction joint is not going to reduce the flexural strength of the member, but it is going to reduce the shear strength of the member. So it means what? You should apply construction joint at a place where the shear strength is less. So that is the concept. So if I go to in the region where the shear is significant, a construction joint with a smooth surface reduces the shear strength of the member by 40%. These are the research. From the research, they have find that if you have a smooth joint, construction joint, then the reduction in the shear strength can be up to 40%. But a beam having a joint with a rough surface and had a failure mode and ultimate load similar to an unjointed beam. See, what we say almost always? Normally we say that suppose you have a construction joint. What you do? You rough your construction joint. Okay, create the roughness to the construction joint. You put the slurry, cement slurry, thick cement slurry. You put the bond. There are the bonding agent now is available. Do over vibration there, then there will be no effect of the construction joint on the strength. Now, effect of the construction joint on the durability. Certainly, concrete is impermeable or is having a very low permeability to water and salt. But whenever you come across with the construction joint, then they allow the water to move, and if it allow the water to move, water and salt leaking through joints may cause rusting of rebar. Okay, and If it has started the rustling of the river, the life of the structure is going to reduce. So always when you locate your construction joint, you should keep two things in mind. First one is what the where the shear stress is less, and second is what there should not be any point for the water or drains. You should keep away from the drains. Where durability is critical, use fewer joints by allowing larger pores like wrap, underground parking. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to go for a larger pore. And now we have seen uh, so many constructions of the rafts where 2,000, 3,000 cubic meters of the concrete, they were starting and finishing because they have to complete it. They don't have any construction joint on the raft, big rafts. So that type of process we have to do. Consider using water stopper at some or all joint locations where you see that the chances of water leakage are there, then you can have that. So now if I take a slab like this, or in the slab and beam connections where we can have the construction joint. So now suppose this is the beam, okay, okay. So from this main beam, you come one third this side, you come one third this side. Okay, so this is the one main beam, this is another main beam. Okay, so you go one third from this side and one third from this side. That is called the point of control plan. So which is good for the construction joint. So at a distance, normally you see at the construction site, we see at a distance of L by 3, you please put your construction joint. So this is the best location for the construction joint. And always when the two beams are intersecting, so suppose this is a secondary beam, this is the main beam. So at the intersections, we try to have construction joint, two beats width times of two times the width of the beam this side and that side. We don't provide any construction joint. So this is the location of the construction joint. Joints must be placed perpendicular to the main reinforcement. Shear force are minimum or at a point of contrafracture. Construction joint in force shall be located within the middle third of the span of slab and beam. That's just I have discussed. Joints in beam shall be offset a minimum distance of two times the width of the intersecting beam. Now, how to make this type of construction joint? You know, I'm with some figure I'm trying to explain it, and at the end you will tell me that this is very difficult to have this type of uh, uh, support to restrict the movement of the concrete. You see, when you are doing the self-compacting concrete, normally we do the self-compacting concrete with the 10 mm aggregates, and 10 mm aggregates with the fines. You see, if it has a very small opening also, it will come out from the joint. Okay, and restricting it very important. Why it is important? Because whatever the thing is coming out from the joint, they are the weak slurry, and if it is not removed before the next concreting, it will create a weak joint, and that weak joint sometimes very detrimental. So this type of things we can do. Okay. So now what is the location of construction joint in a wall and column? Locate construction joint in walls and columns on the underside of floor slabs, beams, and at the top of footings. What does it mean? If you have the column, so what you have to do, the joints will be below the floor slab or beam, okay, or at the top of the footing. It means what? If you have the vertical wall, then you have to make the horizontal joint, and that horizontal joint will not be between the floors. It will be at the end of the floor, okay, or at the top of the floor, okay. Horizontal construction joint in walls and columns are generally spaced one story apart. ऐसा नहीं है कि what we will do, we will make a column and we are casting in two parts. Unless otherwise your column height is not very high, you can go for the single stage casting. We have even I have experienced the casting of 15-meter long columns on third floor without any construction joint. So self-compacting concrete can do very easily. There is no problem. Now, if you have the construction joint, how to prepare the construction joint surface? You see, I have done the concreting, I have done everything. Then how to start the new day concreting, next day concreting, how to start? So that is called a surface preparation for the concreting. Surface of concrete construction joint shall be cleaned and detanks removed. Whatever is the dust and there, you should remove it. Use stiff wire brushes, scrubbers, or sandblaster to clean the surface and remove latent. Immediately before new concrete is placed, all construction joints shall be wetted and standing water must be removed. There should not be any excess water on the concrete. Apply a neat cement slurry, oblique bonding agent to vertical construction joint surface. Fresh concrete should be thoroughly vibrated near construction joint so that mortar from new concrete flows between large aggregates and develop proper bond with old concrete. This is very, very important if I am doing the normal concrete. But if I am not doing the if I am doing the self-compacting concrete, then you cannot put the vibrator. So that's why I tell you the preparation of the uh, what you say construction joint for self-compacting concrete is very, very challenging. Where high shear resistance is required at the construction joint, you can provide shear key. Shear key may be provided. Now, there are different here. Somebody say that shear key does not require, somebody says that shear key is required. But I believe that if we provide the shear key, it will improve the shear resistance. Okay? Or we can put the extra reinforcement in place of that. So many structural consultants I have seen that they are putting some extra reinforcement at this time, at this type of places. Now, you see, this is the basic method of the preparation of the construction joint. Whatever the photographs I have said you, just given you before that, for the preparation of the construction joint was what we have taken from the foreign books and all. But what we have to pack it. So how you can pack? You can put the patterns, you can put the reinforcement, cut reinforcement along the joint, and even though if you have the space, then you can put the POP and all along the surface so that if you do the concreting that side, you should not get any concrete moving out from the construction joint. This type of hole opening and gaps are filled properly. And then if this type of things are coming out, you can see, if this type of things are coming out from the construction joint, even after this type of things, then what you can do, you can just clean it. See, if concrete fluid after concreting, okay, after all these things, because humans are working, sometimes one batter will remove, somebody will take out the batter, the concrete can come out. So if the concrete has moved out from the construction joint because of one reason or other reason, you have to immediately remove this concrete, because you see this concrete gets settled very quickly, and what happens, the removal of this will be very, very difficult. And moreover, I tell you, when I talk about the aluminum shuttering, when we talk about the Maiwan shuttering, see, the conventional shuttering is there, then you can put out the rib, you can take the this one, your shuttering, fly shuttering easily. But removing the shuttering, which is having the aluminum shuttering now, where we have the box type of shuttering pattern, then the removal are very, very difficult. You cannot remove. If you remove, you have to disturb everything. So, better way is that you should clean it immediately. If you have the improper construction joint, then you see this type of joints you can see, and from this type of joint, if it is at the ground surface, and if water table is high, you will always have the source of leakage from here. So by this, I have concluded the second part about my discussion, construction joint. So construction joint must be at central span by 3. In vertical member, it is horizontal. In horizontal member, it should be vertical. And concrete must not be allowed to move from the joint. Surface must be prepared clean before next course. So this is